take this with a grain of salt, because obviously if Arch Manning is everything that Texas fans want him to be, they want him to stick around for as long as possible. But after having conversations with a lot of Texas analysts, with having conversations with a number of quarterback, if you want to call them gurus, experts, whatever, at SEC Media Days, I am now convinced that unless, I'm going to caveat this, Corey, unless Arch Manning wins the Heisman and the national championship this year, Arch Manning is coming back for 1 year at Texas. And I say that for a few reasons. Number one, it ain't exactly like Arch Manning's going to be hurting for money. He's a Manning. They're fine. Number two, I think there is a lot of belief right now, and this is something that multiple Longhorns analysts said. They said, I think Arch is going to be good this year. I think Arch is going to be great next year. I think he needs a year as QB1 to kind of get into his flow state. And keep in mind, the Texas Longhorns are batting leadoff on the road at the Ohio State Buckeyes this year. So Arch is getting thrown headfirst into the fire right out of the gate. And a lot of folks that I talked to that cover this team said they believe Arch is back for 1 more year unless he wins an Addy and a Heisman. And a lot of the quarterback gurus that go around these events talking to and about quarterbacks all said the same thing. I'll keep it a buck with you here. I don't know, coming out into next year's class, I don't know that there is a quarterback for the 2026 NFL draft that I look at and go, that is a franchise changer for that team, with the exception of Lenora Sellers out of South Carolina. But he's got to show me a lot of growth this year too. Real good end of the year last year, but I need some more consistency and growth out of him too. I do not see Cade Klubnik as a game changer for a franchise. I do not see Drew Aller out of Penn State as a franchise changer. I do not see Garrett Nussmeier as a franchise changer. And I don't know, outside of those guys, who's in the draft that I even really see as a genuine number 1 overall pick, unless we have a shock like a DJ Lagway out of Florida. There is maybe one guy in the draft next year that I think is a franchise changer, and that's Lenora Sellers. I don't think Arch Manning's coming out. And if I am New Orleans, I'm putting what I need to put into Spencer Rattler and into Tyler Shook to hope that one of these guys, law of averages, one of these guys turns into a good NFL quarterback moving forward.
Well, okay, and I hear everything you're saying. That's a fantastic argument, and you look at the Manning financial piece is one thing, and I'm going to tell you about that in a second. And then you also mentioned win the Heisman Trophy and the national championship. They're favored to do both. So they're the favorites to win the national championship. He's the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Now, it all still has to play out through the course of the season. And like you said, he's thrown right into the fire in week 1. So, but if you take it by what you said, right now he's the favorite. If the NFL draft was to happen tomorrow and he was to be in it, he would likely be the first pick of the draft. Now, when it comes to the financials, this is a Manning. They got plenty of bread, right? They're not worried about money. But the second NFL contract, especially the way things are going now, is life-changing money. So if we get to C.J. Stroud and Jaden Daniels, if their contract is upwards of $500 million, then what do you think Arch Manning could push it? So why stay and play an extra year of college football, and that puts you 1 year further away from your second NFL contract? So I'm not leveraging the rookie contract. What I'm looking at is that second contract. So why would I not try to make myself closer to that second contract as opposed to worrying about what that first contract looks like? That was kind of my way that I look at these things, because they say the same thing with Marvin Harrison Jr. Well, he can make an NIL what he can make in his rookie deal. Well, that's true, but in NIL, you ain't never gonna make $500 million. In your second contract, that's a possibility. And of course, Harrison Jr. is a wide receiver, different position. But my take on that is, why put yourself 1 year further away from that massive payout?
I get it. And if we are speaking about it on a strictly let's get that bag boys mentality, you're 100% right. The answer would be to me, Corey Parson, though this is may or may not be one that you like, accept, think is a good one, whatever, and I'm good with any of that. Welcome to Sports Talk Radio. We disagree. It's the job. The reason I think that is the case is also some of the comments that have been made about Peyton, or from Peyton, from Eli, from Archie, from Steve Sarkisian. They want to ensure that when Arch Manning goes to the National Football League, that he is as developed, as NFL ready, as pushed as he can be when it is time. And if they feel like he gets to the end of this year and they feel like there is more to unlock, they feel there are more skills to find, there is more to develop in Arch, they will say, look, it is more important for us to send the absolute best version of Arch Manning than it is to send an underdeveloped Arch Manning, even if it puts him a year closer to contract number 2 and life-changing money, even if you already have life-changing money. We don't want to send him until we feel like he has the absolute best possibility, opportunity to get to year 2 and to prove that he's not just going to get to year 2, but is going to be good in year 2, is going to be Jaden Daniels, is going to be CJ Stroud, whatever. So because of that, and because they are committed to that, and on top of that, because of the comments of Arch Manning at SEC Media Days, I'll tell you a real quick little anecdote that kind of changed a lot about the way I'm thinking about Arch Manning. Because I was saying 2-3 weeks ago, Arch Manning certainly has the coaching, the mentorship, the advice givers to understand and process the game. But I think it's fair to ask questions. Steve Spurrier 2 weeks ago on a podcast down in Florida said, if Arch Manning really is that good, if he is front runner to win the Heisman, national championship, he's all Davey O'Brien, all the things that he's being labeled as this year, why didn't he beat out Quinn Ewers last year? Are you telling me he went from last year being a backup in an off season, he went from being a guy who couldn't beat Quinn to now a guy who's going to beat everybody? And I think it's fair. So Arch Manning got asked that at Media Days, and Arch Manning himself said, look, guys, I've played in 2 games. I've been a package scenario guy. I have not gotten to be QB1. I think it needs some time. And he pointed out multiple times, my concern right now isn't Heisman, isn't Davey O'Brien, isn't playoffs, isn't SEC championship, isn't national championship. My concern is to be the best version of Arch Manning I can be before it's time to go to that next step in the process. And if that is legitimate, and I genuinely believed him when he said it, then it would also make sense that he would take that same approach to getting ready for the NFL of, I'll get there when I feel like I am absolutely ready and capable of doing that. I don't think the guy is coming out, which is problematic for New Orleans, because unless Lenora Sellers goes full Cam Newton this year, which I think that he can, unless Lenora Sellers goes full Cam Newton this year, I don't think there's a franchise-saving quarterback in next year's draft. And I think the New Orleans Saints will be stuck with Tyler Shuck unless, Corey Parson, unless he's good, unless he shocks us all. Remember, all the criticisms about him are very similar to the criticisms we heard about Drew Brees coming out of Purdue, and it worked all right for the Saints at that point.
Had criticisms about Bo Nix, had criticisms about J.J. McCarthy. So sometimes it does turn out in the favor of the player. We'll yet to see with McCarthy. And, you make some very good points. I think that the Manning family respected that Quinn Ewers was going to be there and be that quarterback. Because, listen, it could have been very simple. Quinn, we need you to take some NIL money and transfer somewhere because we got to start Arch Manning. When he decided to come back, the Manning family was like, it's his job. You know what I mean? Let him go with it. We respect that. But, I still feel as if he's coming out, but I think it was excellent points made on both sides of the argument. Something for the fans to debate and talk about, and have a good time doing talking season.
I agree, and again, it's a nice conversation because we are a very long way away from the 2026 NFL draft. And again, any number of things could happen in college football season. It is interesting to look at the Texas Longhorns and the expectations, because as you pointed out, Arch Manning is favorite to win the Heisman. He is the favorite to win the national championship. He is the favorite to win the SEC championship. And if he accomplishes all of that and he plays out of his mind, then I think it is very fair to say, yeah, like, go. You're the best college football quarterback. If Texas does what I think Texas is going to do, and Texas ends up 10-2, and Texas is maybe in a fight with a couple of other teams to get into the SEC championship game, and maybe Texas gets in, but it's due to a tiebreaker, and maybe Texas doesn't win the SEC title game, but they get into the playoffs, and maybe they don't win a natty, then I would not be shocked to see Arch Manning decide to come back for another year. But there's also all these other factors. What is Georgia with Gunnar Stockton? We're going to do an SEC preview a little bit later on in the show. I'm going to give you some of my favorite bets after being at SEC Media Days the last 4 days. What is Gunnar Stockton at Georgia? What is DJ Lagway at Florida? We know Lenora Sellers is one of the few proven returning quarterbacks in the Southeastern Conference this year, but how good can he be? Is he Cam Newton good where he can elevate a very mid-Gamecock roster into that conversation? Maybe so. What is Mateer at Oklahoma? Can he save Brent Venables? What is Jackson Arnold? Can he save Hugh Freeze? Like what? It's so many quarterback questions in the SEC that leads to a very volatile conference where I turned in my projected order of finish for the SEC. I had Georgia 1 just because I trust Kirby Smart more than I trust Steve Sarkisian in big-time championship games. I had Texas number 2. I had Alabama 3. I had South Carolina 4 because I believe in Lenora Sellers and Shane Beamer. I had LSU 5. But here's the other aspect of that conversation, Corey Parsons. I also said anybody, and I mean anybody from 3 to 11, any of those guys could win the SEC this year. That's how tightly packed that conference is. If Arch Manning doesn't get it done and they come up shy and they get close but don't finish the job, I see him staying at Texas one more year to finish the job because he's going to get paid Cooper Flag levels of NIL. And while you're right, the second contract's the important one. You want to get there as quickly as you can. I also believe Arch, Peyton, Eli, Archie, Steve Sarkisian all believe we don't want you to go until you are the best you can be. And the best we believe you can be is Heisman and Natty. So we don't want you to go unless you accomplish that. And I think he will listen to uncles and grandpas and coaches.